have added a lot of values to the companies that we have worked with. Mainly around the idea of adding value. Like I've seen that anything that we have done and any successful raises, like part of the team, we were able to do $30 million in raises in the first 6 minutes of being open, the Talk Generation event back in 2017. And we've done it multiple times, and the concept is always valid. Like I see that when you go to, let's say, AMAs, or you go to events. Right now I'm here in Brazil. I was at Blockchain Rio, Ethereum Sao Paulo. The main thing that I see that successful companies are doing is in every interaction that they do, they try to generate value. So instead of presenting about the company itself and just saying, oh, we are here and we're cool for this and this reason, and this is why you should invest in us. Maybe if your company is about now we're looking at something in NFT lending and borrowing. Maybe if your company is around that area, you can provide education about the industry and education about why this is important. So one way you educate your potential investors or users. I really see that, especially now in a moment when there's the market is more bearish than bullish. It's really important to go in communities where you want to do partnerships, you want to raise, you want to acquire users, and try to understand what the community is about and how you can add value there. It's not enough just to pay for advertising space and or promotional space and then do a pitch about your company. If we want to get very granular and tactical, some of the things that we are seeing working very well right now is the industry was a lot based on AMAs, right? Like trying to get into Telegram communities that group a lot of ICO investors, let's say, or people that want these rewards and invest in new startups. This was working very well, obviously, during a bull market where everyone was investing in every project to try to get gains because everything was growing. Right now, the narrative is different and it's a lot more focusing with builders. The strategy that we are seeing working right now is literally to partner with as many good projects as possible. And there are so many. For example, I look at most the groups, not all of them, but most groups on Telegram or Discord that group investors as there's a lot of people there that are either bounty hunters or they're looking for airdrops or some way of buying the tokens low and selling them right after. If that's who you want part of the community, go for it. But if you're looking for investors that they could be potential users, I really recommend starting to think about strategic partnerships. I was just here in Brazil, for example, and I met a very cool company. They're doing education in Web3, meaning that they help people understand certain aspects of Web3 in a Netflix-like platform. So, for example, people pay a certain amount a month and they have courses on Ethereum, Bitcoin, DeFi, NFTs. And with one of the startups that we're working with, we just they have, by the way, 10,000 paying users already here in Brazil that want to learn about this. And instead of saying, hey, I pay you like this much to be featured in your AMA community, we created a partnership because we saw that they want a group where they want more content specific to what the startup is working in. And in exchange of content from industry leaders, now with this startup, we have access to a whole new set of users, potentially 10,000 users that are already paying and qualified for this. So I really see a lot of strength in looking for potential partnerships with projects that actually are here to build. And if that's the intention, if you lead with that intention, if you go to these communities and you try to create a win-win cooperation, we have seen the biggest results coming from there. And I always there's also some marketing activities that I recommend doing no matter what, such as PR, public relation, trying to get featured on very leading publications always leads to a positive uplift in people's perception when then they go research you after they might have seen you in partnerships or in their community. So yeah, this is some of the advice that I wanted to share.
Tell us a little bit more about, the Buddy DAO has an airdrop going on right now. Can you guys break it down for us? What does it look like, and how do you participate in something like that?
Okay, so marketing strategy for a product like Buddy DAO, I would lead with a lot of education. So the thing there, like I see a lot of successful right now. We're dealing with a successful NFT borrow and lending protocol, and what I see them having a lot of success on is creating a lot of resources that help people understand how they can interact with the protocol, and most importantly, what they can get out of the protocol. So if you have three players here, creating avatars for, okay, these players are, you have a borrower, you have a lender, you have a guarantor. Where do they come in place? What are some successful strategies that they can integrate? Because at the end of the day, the product Buddy DAO is a tool, and if you help people understand how to use that tool, you have a lot of interesting users that come there, because maybe they haven't even thought about it. Like I see with the NFT borrow and lending platform, like there's so many people, for example, that come from classic DeFi, where before, for example, they were on Uniswap, they were providing liquidity there. They're looking for a better way to do that. And by also preparing this stack of resources on Medium that people can use to understand how to borrow, how to lend, how to do, how to be a guarantor, and going then into communities such as Uniswap or any community where people are already doing borrowing and lending, then you can participate in the community, engage in that community, if possible, make a partnership with those communities to do AMAs and add value there and talk about your product. But even if it's not, just sharing value within that community and engaging, and that's going to drive a lot of user back to the platform.
Done a lot of marketing for DeFi protocols. What are some of the communities that are very supportive of sort of DeFi launches?
I would go in it really depends on your product within DeFi. So I would really go granular. And if your product is lending and borrowing, I would go, for example, two ways. I would go in existing platforms that are already doing that. I would go inside their Discord and Telegram and start engaging, start understanding how people are moving, what they're talking about, what's the conversation like, and try to add value there within those things. So try to understand their product and maybe talk about some strategies people can use in their product. And then in your digital signature, you will put, for example, that you're Andrea from Buddy DAO, and people will immediately say, okay, like this person is sharing a lot of cool resources here. Let me check what Buddy DAO is and what they're doing. So communities specific to projects that are complementary to your project. And then I would go to Telegram communities that group together people that talk about liquidity providing. In this case, they talk about borrowing and lending. So these might not be directly related to specific projects, but they group together people that have a specific interests that are relevant to us. So there's every project kind of has their own communities, and then you can go even more granular and go country by country and region by region. For example, here I'm in Brazil. There was 2 weeks basically of blockchain conferences, and we came here because Brazil is the second or third largest user of MetaMask for DeFi. And so even understanding, okay, maybe we have a big presence in everyone is targeting the English speaking regions, but in Brazil, okay, the cost of credit card payment is like interest on credit card payment is like 300%, or the cost of getting interest from a bank is like 10%. So hey, here if people love DeFi here, every person I talk to loves DeFi because they're able to get better interest and better deals than they currently are from banks. So also playing country by country and understanding what regions really need the product. Because if you have a region that has an urgent need for that, then it's gonna the product is a much more urgent solution for that problem. So I would go this way: projects, complementary projects. I would go DeFi general communities that have not general but specific to what the product is providing. And then the other side, I would go for countries and regions that really have a need for what is being provided.
In your breakdown for the DeFi company you were launching at the Brazilian blockchain conferences, is really an extensive. It's really kind of strategy meets media buying research goes on. It's not just pure marketing function, a pure strategy function. You have to understand strategy, and you have to understand the types of businesses that you're after, and then you have to go in and create a media like budget in order to accomplish this, because most of these groups, they don't really charge, the ones that you're describing, but if you AMAs, you will have to pay for it. Can you does it cost to do like an airdrop, and how much does it cost to do like an AMA? I think our audience really, we're in the US, we're a little bit isolated from this. Kind of what the world's doing.
Sure. With respect to AMAs, you can expect anywhere around the $1,000 mark for most groups, especially if you're going in there and you're trying to add the genuine value to the community, to even more, depending on what you're looking to do. For example, we sponsored a community here with that has very engaged members. And by the way, you don't need to target communities that have 10,000 or 50,000 members, because most of the times those there's a lot of bots in there, and maybe the quality is not as selected. So I would recommend with going with a variety of small and super targeted micro communities. But for example, here we had a community specific to Rio de Janeiro. They had a couple, close to 1,000 people in the community, and they organized also IRL events. So we connected the company to do both an AMA and a feature within their Telegram channel, but also be present at their IRL events that right now are doing like 150 to 200 people every time. So the CEO connected live in the room, talked about the project to an audience of people that were there. There was a translator in a Portuguese translator that was translating and was asking questions. So I would say you can expect anywhere around the 1,000 to 2,000. It can go up more depending on the groups that you want to target, but I would say around that area. And another advice that I always give, because I see it, I experience it. There's a lot of times where you might come across a community and they if there's value to be exchanged, I would lead with that more than, hey, can I how much is an AMA? Maybe say, hey, I see you guys are focused there, maybe I can give a presentation and help you guys understand this and that. If there's something that you as a project owner and project leader can do and can add specific value to that community that they need and would actually add to their experience in crypto, I would lead with that, and then you can figure out a deal. But it's a much the energy is completely different than in the conversation into how you collaborate with that community.
Agree more with your approach to this, because I've been I've participated now and listened to a bunch of AMAs, and it seems to me that it's a very kind of a narrow window, a transaction kind of opportunity, and you really don't know who's going to be plugging in and for what reason and how they're going to resonate with this particular business, because it's really the retail function. It's really not like you have a bunch of VCs in the room at that point. It's people who are token holders of a variety of different cryptocurrencies, and they're looking for opportunities, and they don't necessarily have a lot of due diligence experience like Jack or like who you work with. Question is, are those even worth it? And if they are, how many of those should one do to kind of do that private raise in order to get on the exchanges? Because I know the exchanges are quite expensive, right?
Yeah, they are quite expensive depending who you target. what I would do is do a bit of reverse engineering and trying to understand what's really needed. Because in one of our partners at the marketing agency was fundamental in one of the largest retail raises in crypto in 2017, $30 million in 6 minutes with Singularity Net. And that experience, for example, is when we talked and we strategized, is like it was mostly PR, for example, and doing a lot of events, like in real life events where they were bringing their product, their working product to people. And I would try to understand what mix is needed and reverse engineer the path of a user. So let's say that you're doing a token generation event. What is going to be the path of people? If you do a bunch of AMAs, people are going to see you in the AMA, come in your community, do a bit of due diligence on your startup. So when they do due diligence, they're going to also look in other places to understand a little bit more about your story, what you do, and your background. So also make sure that those other places are ready. So do a bit of preparatory PR to get featured. First, craft your story, and then get featured in specific media outlets at tier 1, tier 2. It could be crypto specific, it could be innovation and tech, anything that when they type the name of your startup on Google or your name as a founder on Google, the first page is other people talking about you. So now you have your base covered. Then when you go to AMAs, I would figure out the number of investors that you're trying to reach for the token generation event. I would assume a conservative conversion rate out of your Telegram or Discord channel, whatever you want to use as the main hub for the community. And then I would start with the first, I would do the first 10 AMAs. I would see how many people convert from those AMAs to Telegram members. And then from there, you see out of those that converted, for example, how many are actually active in the community. So it's a funnel, you know. Do you have a good community manager that engages with the community and keeps up the engagement? Do you have a good funnel that explains to people that come then from the AMAs to your communities what you're about, what you're doing, your mission, what are the next steps? Is it clear for them? So you want to make sure that to optimize there. As a general rule of thumb, I would go with, I would start with 10. I would see what the conversion rate is there, and then I would scale it up, because then you're able to optimize as well your presentation, what you're doing there. So you have to track everything very meticulously. It's a funnel that has to work in every single step.